Hey, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you are watching real time, we appreciate your patronage on Patreon or your patronage as a YouTube subscriber, or the fact that you have linked your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. That way we get paid somehow. So either it costs you money because you're linked to Patreon or to YouTube, or it costs you nothing because you've linked Amazon Prime to Twitch Prime. If you just can't figure out that stuff, or you don't have Amazon Prime, you're watching a week late on YouTube, and that's okay. We appreciate your following us on Twitter at Michael Pachter. Follow Shane at Dinfire, and follow Sifted at Sifted Games. I'm talking about E3 today, and E3 is kicking off as we speak. I'm taping this on the Friday of the beginning of E3. We're getting a whole lot of press conferences, and as you probably know, E3 was canceled in 2020. The last full hands-on show with consumers and companies and gameplay was 2019, and because the pandemic is in its last phase and it's on its last legs, it was too hard to plan an in-person event now. I think they probably could have done something this week because they're half the US is vaccinated, so they probably could have pulled something off, but they chose not to. I get it, because of planning. I had urged them to push it to September and do it in person. They didn't do it, so we're not getting a normal E3. We're getting a virtual E3, and because it's virtual, and because there's no booth to set up and there's no hands-on gameplay to worry about, you're getting a lot of much smaller players entering the picture and doing press conferences, because a press conference is as complex as what I'm doing right now. Get a Zoom link and just start talking. And because it's not concentrated with a 2 or 3 day rental of a convention center and meeting space, you're getting a spread out of all the announcements. So they kind of started yesterday with Jeff Keighley and Summer Games Fest. We're getting random shows today, a few things on Saturday and Sunday, which we have had in the past, but like Ubisoft Forward. I think Microsoft might be on Sunday. The Bethesda showcase, which is now Microsoft, is typically on Sunday, and then just sporadic stuff. But the real meaningful difference is there's no show, which means that the games didn't have to be playable, and so they're not necessarily in ready to show form. We're getting things like the Battlefield trailer reveal that we got earlier this week, which looked pretty cool. I actually liked it. In-game footage, but again, is it playable? Probably not. And so I think that the right way to think about what's going to happen at E3, because it's all spread out, is what's not going to happen. Let's talk about that first. First, for the third or fourth year in a row, Sony's skipping E3. I have no idea what they're thinking. They don't get it. Sorry, love Sony, good people, but they have lost their way. I spoke to Microsoft earlier this week about Xbox supply, and they actually blamed it on the semiconductor shortage, which I truly believe. And semiconductor shortage is pandemic related, but the entire supply chain of the planet is screwed up. So I think Sony, pulled out, A, to save money, B, because they don't want to be on the schedule of having to reveal anything, early, C, because they spent a lot of money, in 2000 or 94 through 2018, and they really didn't get much to, show for it, but they're not announcing anything. So no announcements from Sony. The other guys who are, kind of not here, and not avoiding E3 or being rude, but just nothing to show, Activision. And I don't think that means nothing's coming from Activision. Like, we know Diablo Immortal Mobile is coming pretty soon, I'd say, and again, prediction, probably by end of July, very likely even sooner than that, probably end of June or somewhere in that 30-day window. And we're going to hear a lot more about, Call of Duty. I think it's a Sledgehammer game this year, but nothing yet. There'll be like an announcement, but no trailer until they're ready to show it. That'll just happen when it happens. Obviously, you're going to get more content for Warzone and Call of Duty Mobile, but no big announcements. So I don't expect to hear anything from Activision until they're ready to tell you. And Diablo Immortal, probably nothing until it launches. So no E3 announcement from those guys. Then I guess the other guys who are kind of not here E3, who does its, I'm sorry, E3, EA, who does its own thing, EA Play, that got pushed to July 22nd, I believe. So it used to happen during E3. And the way EA did it, they used to be 6-7 miles away from the convention center in Hollywood. Then they moved closer, the last time they were here, which was 2019. Now they're doing it in July, and I don't even know if it's in person. I think it's a virtual event, but I'm not even sure. But we'll hear about that July 22nd, which is before they report earnings. That's a good thing. They're gonna show us, gameplay footage and maybe some way to play hands-on for Battlefield. I don't expect a lot of other content to be announced from them, but again, not happening this week. So that leaves everybody else. Microsoft for sure. And I have to say, even though I spoke to them recently, I really don't know what they're going to do. But remember what I said about consoles being in tight supply. They can't get enough semiconductors. That if that's true for Microsoft, it's true for Sony. That means no console price cut from either guy. And how do I get there? Financial analysts. If you can't even make them, why cut the price? If you can't get them, what's the point in cutting the price? All that lower price does is increase demand. So we are not going to get a price cut on PS5 or Xbox Series X or S this summer. I doubt we're going to get one by fall. So no price cut announcements from Microsoft or Sony. But what's Microsoft going to tell us about? Well, Microsoft's been saying they expect a frontline release every quarter, kind of into perpetuity. I'm not sure that I can define that. Frontline might not be AAA, but I think it kind of is. I'm not sure what quarter that starts, but let's just pick the December quarter. So this fall, you're going to get a frontline release beginning in December every quarter. I think you'll get some visibility into Bethesda launch timing on the stuff that's already been announced. You might get a teaser of some new IP. I haven't heard anything from Todd Howard since Microsoft acquired them. I think Todd's going to surface this weekend, and we're going to hear about a Todd Howard project. And again, I want to say Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah, 6. But who knows? I mean, it could be anything. But I think you'll get a Bethesda title announced. Obviously, we're going to know about Halo, much more detail about Halo. I expect there'll be one or two other games because Microsoft bought about 6 or 7 studios. So Microsoft's probably going to have 4 games to announce for this fall and into next year. I think they're going to confirm the 1 a quarter kind of cadence, and that's good. I think they're going to hype the hell out of Game Pass, and that's good. And to be fair, I think Game Pass is a tough idea to execute, but they're doing as well as you can do. The key to Game Pass is there's got to be enough content to justify the purchase price. It's roughly $10 a month. I mean, depending on how you pay for it, you can pay more. But if you buy the monthly package, the $34.99 gets you an Xbox Series X and Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass. So it comes out to about $10. That's a pretty good deal if there's enough games to keep you busy all the time, because you're spending $120 a year. So as long as you're playing 2 frontline games a year, it's a good deal. And they're going to have 1 a quarter plus some catalog. And so the Bethesda catalog alone is probably worth that much. The Microsoft catalog less so, but pretty valuable. And the EA all access catalog is worth something. So they've got kind of a lot. I'm actually impressed by Game Pass. I think we'll hear more about Game Pass and numbers and things, but I doubt you get a discount there. So Microsoft, Bethesda, just a lot of titles. I can't really predict which one and what date, but we already know all the big stuff. And again, I don't think we'll hear about Elder Scrolls till it's ready. I think there's something else in the works. The other console manufacturer that's definitely announcing something is Nintendo. I think Nintendo's rumored to be working on a higher definition Switch, and a higher definition and faster microprocessor. And as I said before, semiconductors are in short supply, so that plan might have been disrupted by supply constraints. If they make a new Switch, it'll probably be the same $299 price point. So what they're basically going to say is that we can improve the graphics, better screen, and we can improve the guts, better GPU, and it's just not going to cost us that much more, so we can sell it to you for $299. Will it replace the old Switch? Probably, but not immediately. And again, that's a supply thing. if you can't make 25 million of the new one because you can't get chips for 25 million of them, you can't afford to stop production of the old one. So my guess is they'll go side by side. Will you discount the old Switch? I think they'll phase the new one in and phase the old one out. So if I had to bet, because of supply constraints, they'll announce it, but it's not going to be this holiday. And my guess is that they'll not say a word about price on the new one. So when I say $299, they're going to announce a new one without a price. And then when it launches, it'll be $299. And that's the day they'll cut the old one to $249 and just kind of winnow down their supply until they don't have to produce the old one anymore. But it's really going to be a supply problem. And supply from semiconductors, this is really just because of the pandemic. I mean, the entire supply chain has been disrupted. Shipping has been disrupted. There's a container shortage. I mean, people can't get them in the right place at the right time. So, you may not have noticed, but there's actually a grape nuts shortage. I mean, we are out of everything. And it's mostly because the supply chain is optimized to deliver products to consumers the way they consume them normally, and we aren't consuming them normally. So the easy example, and this is why the Switch is going to probably be announced and then delayed, Switch 2. Toilet paper is a perfect example. Let's just say half of all toilet paper is consumed in the home and half is consumed in businesses, at restaurants or in the office, because you're spending half your waking hours in the office or eating out. And those supply chains are different, and the toilet paper is different. So when everybody suddenly was indoors at home, we didn't have enough toilet paper. That's it. We doubled the in-home demand and dropped the commercial demand to zero, and the supply chain couldn't figure it out. It took months and months and months. That's what's going on with semiconductors right now and with shipping right now. So again, I would say Nintendo Switch 2 $299, not announced at a price point, not announced a launch date. Yes, announced a product, and I think they'll say coming next year. And Switch, same price through Christmas. Give off the hint that the Switch 2 will be $400, and then pleasantly surprise us by charging $300 and knocking the Switch price down to $249 in March or April. That's my prediction, but who knows? Nintendo might decide to go out with 500,000 Switch 2s if that's what they can make, and air freight them and charge $349, but I don't expect it. I expect that Nintendo will announce a frontline title we haven't heard about yet. A lot of people think it's going to be a Zelda title. I don't know. There's 30 big IPs I counted in the Nintendo portfolio. And you don't really think about, WarioWare, Luigi's Mansion, or Yoshi's Island, but they aren't big IPs. Something's coming out this fall that they haven't announced yet, so we'll hear about it. Price cut? Probably not. And although I think the Switch is ready for a price cut, they are selling so damn many of them at full price, it just doesn't make sense to cut price. So I think they can afford to cut price. I don't think they need to drive demand. When they see demand dip below 2 million per month, and that probably isn't going to happen until later this year, they'll consider a price cut, but I would predict that's a 2022 event, not a 2021 event. So Nintendo should be exciting for people who are fans of their IP. That's it for console guys. Activision I dealt with, EA I dealt with, Take-Two. I think, well, we already heard about the new altogether separate game set in the Borderlands universe from Gearbox, and that's going to be a 2K title. Interesting thing on Gearbox is that they got sold to Embracer, which is a Swedish company. And their deal with Take-Two is that Take-Two owns all the rights to everything Borderlands. So if there's ever a Borderlands sequel, it's got to be published by Take-Two. The economics on those deals is that Take-Two fronts the development costs for Gearbox, and then Gearbox gets 30% of the revenue from the game. So it's in Gearbox's best interest, if they make a Borderlands game, to have it sell 10 million units or more. The problem is that now that Gearbox is part of Embracer, Embracer's paying the overhead. And if Embracer publishes a game, they keep 100% of the revenue. Gearbox gets nothing, and Take-Two gets nothing. So the question is 30% of a 10 million unit seller a better deal for Embracer, who owns Gearbox, than 100% of some lower number of units if they just publish something that's kind of in the Borderlands universe but not called Borderlands. My expectation is that this title that was announced, this Borderlands universe new IP, is the last thing that Gearbox does with Take-Two. I don't think there will be a Borderlands 4. I think Borderlands is over. I mean, they'll keep doing, improving the content for online, but I think you won't see another Borderlands title. They'll just take their new IP, call it something else, change the look of the environment from sand to lush green or space or something, and you're just not going to see another one of those games. So that's them. Take-Two. Other titles, I have to say, who cares? The company has this is a financial term, shit ton of really great IP. And, Borderlands, obviously, I just said is kind of dead, but we've got BioShock not coming this year, probably coming in 23. Rockstar has Manhunt, Bully, Midnight Club, L.A. Noire, Max Payne that haven't been made since 2012 or earlier. So we're 9 years out, and 9 to 15 years out from any of those titles. They have Agent that they announced in 2009, which, as far as I know, is still in development. I heard they gave up the trademark, but I don't think the game is dead. So Rockstar's got about 7 or 8 games that they could release anytime they feel like it. Problem is, they don't feel like it. They're remastering GTA 5. They're putting it in, adding some additional content, selling it again for next-gen consoles. They're making GTA Online free to play for like 2 or 3 months on Xbox, and then they're gonna issue a separate GTA Online SKU for sale, and I don't know what that means. Let's say $10. So I think they're so busy worrying about GTA Online and incremental content for GTA 5 that you won't get a Rockstar announcement this year, period. You might get an announcement by October, November for a game for next year. And if I had to bet, it's Bully or Midnight Club. So we'll see. But I don't think there's a GTA 6 coming until 2025 for real that year. So I just think people who think that's coming soon, wrong. BioShock 2023 probably. Maybe we'll get a Rockstar title every other year because there's so many in development. But I don't think Take-Two is going to announce anything that you care about. And I don't care about Ollie Ollie World. I think those kind of titles are small and nobody cares. Ubisoft has really pretty much already announced everything. Far Cry is dated and coming in October, so that's good. They delayed Skull and Bones again, so that's good. We know that, but I think we first saw that in 2018. So they've just delayed. And, I think that they're doing a lot of interesting stuff with their Tom Clancy brands. I think Ubi is going to probably do a free-to-play version of 1 or 2 of the Tom Clancy brands, possibly on mobile. They're clearly working on, Star Wars and other stuff. But I just think you get a bunch of Beyond Good and Evil announcements, stuff we already know. So I don't expect any new IP this week, maybe, but I don't think so. Part of the problem with all these guys is we lost GDC this year. So we missed the opportunity that's where Sony loved to announce stuff. We don't have the in-person E3, so people just don't feel compelled. So I actually expect this week's going to be a letdown, and we're going to hear about a lot of small games. State of Decay, don't care. A new Perfect Dark, don't care. I forgot the Ubisoft racing game, I don't care. So I think that what probably should be of interest to gamers is this Activision pivot from putting everything behind a paywall to pushing games out that are free to play. And I think that their move with Call of Duty Mobile and Call of Duty Warzone is something that will be emulated by everybody else. And you can say, well, Apex did it first. They did. Apex was not behind a paywall in the first place, so it's not a brand that we recognize. But they pushed that out as a new IP, EA, as a free-to-play game. I think the next Overwatch will still be behind a paywall, but I expect that there'll be something that's not required to purchase. Like maybe they make Overwatch 1 free to play. Again, not going to be an E3 announcement, but that could happen as soon as this year. And I think same thing with GTA. I think GTA Online, Take-Two's giving you a hint that it's going to be free to play by giving it away to Xbox owners for a couple of months. They're offering a separate SKU for $10 or something. They haven't set the price. Ultimately, I think they just make that free to play, and I think that would be smart. They'll get another 100 million players, and they'll make another $500 million, and so of course they're going to do it. But short of evolving business models, taking games behind the paywall like GTA Online, FIFA Ultimate Team, Overwatch, Call of Duty, and pushing them in front of the paywall, EA is going to be the last guys to do this, because I don't think they actually appreciate how powerful their brands are, and I think they're worried about upsetting sales of games like FIFA. Frankly, based on what I saw with Call of Duty and Warzone, sales of the premium Call of Duty went up. So I expect that you're going to see lots and lots and lots of other guys emulate. It's not going to happen immediately. It's going to be the next 5 years. But as it happens, it's going to be good for gamers, because you're going to get to play games you like to play. You're going to be able to try games you've never played. And the cool thing about stuff like FIFA Ultimate Team, yeah, they sell 20 million units a year, which means that there's 250 million console gamers who never played FIFA. And I would bet half of them would like to. They just don't want to pay for it until they know what it's like. So if you make FIFA Ultimate Team free to play, I literally think you get 100 million players and revenue doubles or triples. So I think they'll do it eventually. I just don't think they've quite yet figured it out. They got religion on mobile, and they figured out that they were bad at mobile, and they decided to buy Glue. I'm not sure Glue is the best mobile developer, but they have 3 games that are bigger than the biggest EA games, so they're better than EA. They decided to get religion on racing, and they bought Codemasters. I expect you'll see Codemasters develop a free-to-play, street racing game. So take Burnout and turn it into street racing, call it Fast and Furious, and you're off to the races. But again, no announcements of any of that stuff at E3. So what do? You can watch these press conferences as you see fit. You'll probably be let down, have low expectations, and you're probably not going to learn a whole lot, but you might hear about a date or something on a game you care about. So that's it for my E3 predictions. Okay, fellow babies, thank you for joining us on Pachter Factor. Enjoy your views of the different press conferences and reveals at E3. Don't get your hopes up. Plan to be disappointed, then you won't be as disappointed. And thanks for watching us on SIFTD.net or on YouTube, and paying via Patreon or subscribing via YouTube. No matter what, if you have a Prime account, link it to your Twitch Prime account. We get paid for that. It costs you nothing. So even if you're a Patreon patron, do that. And no matter what, follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. Follow Shane at Dinfire. Follow SIFTD at SIFTD Games. We will see you next time. Thanks, fellow babies.